Welcome back to the Exposure History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Soviet soldiers climbed the rubble-strewn Reichstag building to plant their flag on top of the overran the German parliament. The dramatic picture embodies the symbolic scene of defeat of Nazi Germany by the Soviet in Berlin. They are surrounded by smoke and destruction as they raise the red banner on top of the surrendered capital on May 2, 1945. A machine gun with young boys in uniform gathers as one of the teachers demonstrates how to use the lethal weapon. The members of these Hitler Youth are being trained to go to war even though they are in their desperate last months of the war. They are focused when learning to operate equipment that is suitable to military personnel. An American B-24 bomber formation is flying in the sky, releasing their load on the Austrian rail yards below. Their bombs in the dark clouds of smoke are combined with artificial smoke screens by German defenders. The huge planes rumble in waves in the air, which attack the Strategic Transportation Center on December 27, 1944. An overly armed German soldier is shown walking in the winter snow with boxes of ammunition on his shoulders. He is a member of the German counter-onslaught that is going through the Belgium-Luxembourg line in early 1945. His burden and persevering walk indicate how hard soldiers have to work in the winter. A U.S. Army infantryman of the 82nd Airborne Division is seen moving with his weapon in hand and his comrade covering him with fire. The troops move slowly in the Belgian city of Bra on Christmas Eve, 1944. Their strategic location shows the ever-present threat of close-range urban warfare in the Battle of the Bulge. Soviet soldiers push a makeshift floating platform carrying their heavy machine gun across a freezing river. One soldier holds his rifle high above the water while his comrades guide the equipment forward through the icy current. Behind them, two more men follow with supply boxes, balanced on another floating device along the Second Baltic Front. Low-flying C-47 transport planes roar overhead, dropping desperately needed supplies to surround American forces below. In the foreground, American tanks roll forward through the snow, while smoke rises from destroyed German equipment in the distance. The aerial lifeline keeps the besieged defenders of Bastogne fighting during the German breakthrough on January 6, 1945. German soldiers stand among the debris and rubble that litters the streets of Bastogne after their capture. The 4th Armored Division broke through to rescue the surrounded town, and these defeated men now wait as prisoners. Their faces show exhaustion after the failed siege that cost both sides dearly. The civilians are gathered in the backyard of a destroyed street, awaiting to be transported out of the Belgian town ravaged by war. These refugees managed to keep up with the intensive fighting since American troops regained L'Église in an offensive of the Germans. Their bags packed, they are now ready to abandon destroyed houses where war was only a few days ago. One of the dead Germans is lying on a corner of the street where he was killed in the fierce battle in Belgium. His body is still lying there where he fell as the American troops gained ground at Stavelot on January 2, 1945. The bleak picture of the deserted street demonstrates the human price left behind as the Battle of the Bulge was going on. Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin are shown sitting in the sunny patio of the Levadia Palace in Crimea. The three strongest Allied leaders come together to talk about the way Europe will be reconstituted following the defeat of Germany. The world of the aftermath of the war will be characterized by their historic conference on February 4, 1945, that has left and will leave the stamp till decades. Russian units are marching through the ruins and rubbles of the Hungarian capital. The men of the 3rd Ukrainian Front battle block after block to push out the Germans and Hungarians out of the city. A battle in the city of Budapest is blazing on the 5th of February, 1945, as the Soviets advance further into Eastern Europe. A German V-1 flying bomb is flying down to the middle of London as viewed down a rooftop on Fleet Street. The unique profile of the law courts in London gives away the location, as the unmanned weapon tumbling down recognizes the location. This bomb was dropped close to Drury Lane that destroyed a number of buildings, among them a newspaper office. German civilians crowd around a street collection point in Berlin, bringing uniforms and equipment for the war effort. With more men being sent to fight, Germany faces critical shortages of military supplies and clothing. The desperate Volksopfer, or People's Sacrifice Program, collects donations from citizens to outfit the Home Guard on February 12, 1945. Workers wade through 4 feet of water to repair telephone lines along the main road in Germany. The retreating German forces deliberately destroyed the dikes, flooding the entire region to slow the Allied advance. British troops in the area depend on amphibious vehicles to move supplies through the man-made disaster. The photographs are in series and capture the events during the alteration of the face of a 16-year-old German soldier upon his capture. The feelings of the boy change to shock, to fear, to resignation when he digests the fact of becoming a captive of American forces. Anti-air cannon fire bursts darkly among the white vapor trails of B-17 flying fortresses high above. On March 3, 1945, the American bombers of the 15th Air Force struck the Austrian railway yards at Graz. The threatening sky is full of harmful shrapnel when the German positions attempt to guard the strategic target on the ground. The town hall of Dresden shows block after block of complete devastation into the distance. 15 square miles of the city center were burned by Allied bombing on February 13th to 15th, which produced a firestorm. The historic German city is in its entire ruins following thousands of tons of bombs that killed more than 22,000 people who lived there. The soldiers of the Third Army, Americans, rush into the German town when one of their own, who fell, leans against a wall. The deceased soldier was slain during the brutal city combat when the U.S. troops were fighting their way into Koblenz. He still lies down where he fell on the 18th of March, 1945, as his unit continues the attack. Columns of American 7th Army troops come pouring through a hole that has been blown in the western defensive positions of Germany. The supply trucks and the soldiers who breached the Siegfried Line are heading towards Karlsruhe. The break-in of the huge defensive system prepared the way to Stuttgart on March 27, 1945. 3 Jewish servicemen conduct the first religious services held east of the Ruhr River, in the former residence of Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels. A private holds the Holy Scroll while a captain and corporal lead services in Schloss Reit. The ceremony on March 18, 1945, honors the Jewish soldiers of the 29th Division who died fighting the Nazis. American soldiers huddle together in an assault boat as they cross the Rhine River under heavy enemy fire. The troops crouch low, seeking any protection as German guns target them from the far shore. The dangerous crossing near St. Goar brought the war into the heart of Germany in March 1945. An American soldier lies dead on the ground, still clutching his rifle and hand grenade after being shot by a German sniper. His body remains in the fighting position where he fell during combat in Koblenz. The photograph from March 1945 captures the sudden violence that could strike any soldier at any moment. The twin spires of Cologne Cathedral stand defiantly above the completely flattened city surrounding it. 3 years of Allied bombing raids have reduced the railroad station and Hohenzollern Bridge to twisted wreckage. The Gothic church survived while everything around it was destroyed, photographed on April 24, 1945. An American soldier from the 12th Armored Division stands guard over captured German troops in a wooded area. The defeated Germans sit and stand among the trees after surrendering in April 1945. Their war has ended as prisoners while fighting continues elsewhere in their crumbling nation. Adolf Hitler pins decorations on young boys from the Hitler Youth in front of his bunker in Berlin. The Nazi leader appears for the last time in public on April 25, 1945, just 4 days before his suicide. These children represent Germany's last desperate defenders as the Soviet army closes in on the capital. Rows of partially completed Heinkel He-162 jet fighters sit on assembly lines deep underground in a former salt mine. The massive subterranean factory at Tarthen allowed Germany to continue aircraft production safe from Allied bombing. The first U.S. Army discovered these hidden galleries during their advance on Magdeburg in early April 1945. Soviet officers and American soldiers meet in friendship along the banks of the Elbe River in April 1945. The historic link-up of forces from east and west cuts Germany in two and signals the war's end is near. The Allies celebrate their meeting as their armies squeeze the remaining German territory from both sides. Thousands of captured German soldiers pack into a makeshift prisoner enclosure that can barely contain them all. The 7th Army rounded up these men during their rapid drive toward Heidelberg on April 4, 1945. The compounds built by the Allies to hold prisoners of war overflow with defeated German troops. An American soldier stands amid the rubble inside Leipzig's massive monument commemorating Napoleon's 1813 defeat. 150 SS fanatics fortified themselves inside the historic structure with months of supplies, planning to hold out indefinitely. Soviet soldiers advance carefully through buildings in the outskirts of the East Prussian city, moving from room to room. The urban warfare in Königsberg demands that troops clear every structure of enemy fighters. The Soviet forces battle through the German city in April 1945 as they push westward. A German officer sits in the devastated remains of Saarbrücken eating American sea rations after the city's capture. The once strong city and Siegfried Line fortress now lies in complete ruins around him. The defeated officer finds himself amid the rubble of early spring 1945 with nothing left to defend. A Czech woman overwhelmed with emotion embraces and kisses a Soviet soldier who helped liberate Prague. Her grateful gesture thanks the Red Army troops who freed her city from years of Nazi occupation. The scene on May 5, 1945, captures the joy and relief felt by many as liberation arrived. Crowds of commuters pack the New York subway platform, standing completely still as news of Hitler's death is announced. The rush hour comes to a standstill on May 1, 1945, as people listen to reports that the Nazi leader shot himself in his Berlin bunker. Even in the underground stations, New Yorkers stop to absorb the momentous news. British Field Marshal Montgomery reviews surrender documents while senior German officers look on. Major Friedel, Rear Admiral Wagner, and Admiral von Friedeberg stand in the tent at the 21st Army Group headquarters. The pact signed at Lüneburg Heath on May 4, 1945, ends fighting on the British fronts in northwest Germany, Denmark, and Holland. A massive crowd completely fills Whitehall in central London, celebrating victory in Europe Day. Over 1 million people jam the streets to hear the Prime Minister officially announce Germany's unconditional surrender on May 8, 1945. The celebrating masses, packed together in joy after more than 5 years of war, finally ends. New York's Times Square overflows with celebrating crowds looking north from 44th Street on May 7, 1945. People fill every inch of space in the famous intersection, celebrating news of Germany's unconditional surrender. The spontaneous party erupts as World War II in Europe officially comes to an end. Fireworks light up the night sky above Moscow's Red Square as the Soviet Union celebrates victory. Bursts of gunfire join the pyrotechnics while searchlights sweep across the darkness on May 9, 1945. The spectacular display marks the end of the Great Patriotic War and Germany's defeat. The bombed and battle-scarred Reichstag building stands as a symbol of Nazi Germany's complete defeat. A destroyed German military vehicle sits in the rubble-strewn foreground below the damaged Parliament building. The scene in Berlin shows the physical destruction matching the political collapse of the Third Reich. Soviet Ilyushin Il-2 ground attack aircraft fly in formation through the skies above the conquered German capital. These heavily armed planes provided crucial support during the final battle for Berlin in 1945. The Soviet Air Force now controls the airspace over the city that started the war 6 years earlier. The historic center of Nuremberg lies in complete ruins captured in vivid color photography. Over 90% of the city center was destroyed by Allied bombing raids from 1943 to 1945, killing more than 6,000 residents. The city that hosted massive Nazi rallies now stands devastated, soon to become famous again as the site of war crimes trials. American soldiers wade through chest-deep water off the ramp of their landing craft as German machine guns open fire. The Coast Guard vessel dropped them into the surf at Normandy on June 6, 1944. The troops push forward through the water toward the heavily defended French beach under intense enemy fire. Allied troops, guns, and transport vehicles rush ashore onto Sicilian beaches during the July 1943 invasion. The massive amphibious operation brings thousands of soldiers and tons of equipment onto the Italian island. The landing forces move quickly to establish their beachhead and push inland. A massive fireball erupts from an American cargo ship loaded with ammunition after a German bomb finds its target. The vessel exploded spectacularly off the coast of Gela on Sicily's southern shore on July 31, 1943. The devastating hit during the invasion sends flames and smoke billowing into the sky. Canadian infantrymen move cautiously up a narrow Italian lane past the body of their fallen comrade. The troops advanced through Campochiaro on November 11, 1943, as Germans retreated, leaving only snipers behind. The soldiers pushed forward carefully, knowing enemy sharpshooters could be hiding anywhere in the town. A British Baltimore bomber releases a stick of bombs over the snow-covered Italian town below. The aircraft targeted the strategic railway station and junction at Sulmona in February 1944. The bombs fall toward the important east-west transportation route across Italy. German soldiers take defensive positions inside an Italian house, waiting for orders to attack. The infantrymen prepare their next move on February 6, 1944, after Stuka dive bombers have completed their bombing run. They shelter inside, ready to storm out once the air support has cleared the way. American artillery spotters from the Fifth Army study the German-held Italian town through their equipment. The observers calculated targets in San Vittore on November 1, 1943, before directing a bombardment. Their job is to guide the artillery shells that will force the Germans out of the stronghold. The Italian city of Cassino lies in complete ruins the day after Allied forces finally captured it in May 1944. Hangman's Hill rises in the background, where some of the fiercest fighting occurred during the long, bitter siege. Every building in view has been reduced to rubble by months of combat. American reconnaissance soldiers move carefully through the streets of the Sicilian city looking for hidden enemy shooters. The U.S. troops searched buildings and corners in Messina during August 1943 after capturing the strategic port. Any window or doorway could conceal a German sniper waiting to fire. An Italian woman gratefully kisses the hand of an American Fifth Army soldier as troops enter Naples. The emotional gesture on October 10, 1943, shows the relief many Italians felt as Allied forces liberated their cities. The soldiers moving northward through Italy are welcomed as liberators by the civilian population. U.S. soldiers march through Rome past the ancient Colosseum as they pursue retreating German forces on June 5, 1944. The historic monument stands as American troops enter the liberated Italian capital. The soldiers continue north following the enemy through the streets of the Eternal City. Lieutenant General Lucian Truscott talks with African American soldiers from the 92nd Infantry Division in the Italian hills. The Fifth Army commander meets with the troops after they successfully threw back a German attack north of Viareggio in 1944. The general personally congratulates the soldiers on their defensive victory. A U.S. Army Jeep speeds along a road as Mount Vesuvius erupts dramatically in the background, spewing ash into the sky. The volcano's 1944 eruption occurred shortly after Allied forces arrived in Naples, Italy. Nature's fury adds another danger to the war-torn landscape as American troops settle into the region. German soldiers scatter and run for cover on a French beach as a low-flying Allied aircraft roars overhead. The plane was taking reconnaissance photos of German coastal defenses before D-Day in 1944. The surprised enemy troops dive for shelter from the unexpected aircraft buzzing the beach. General Dwight Eisenhower gives final instructions to paratroopers in England just before they board their planes on June 6, 1944. The Supreme Commander tells the men of Company E, 502nd, that he expects full victory, nothing else, from their mission. These soldiers will be among the first to land in France during the D-Day invasion. American soldiers march in long columns through a British port town, heading toward the ships that will carry them to France. The troops walk through the streets in June 1944 on their way to board landing craft for the D-Day assault. Their journey to the docks marks the beginning of the invasion of Western Europe. U.S. Rangers crowd together on a troop ship in an English port, waiting for orders to depart for Normandy. First Sergeant Sandy Martin, Technician 5th Grade Joseph Markovich, Corporal John Losciavo, and Private First Class Frank Lockwood posed together before the battle. Martin would be killed during the landing ahead. Landing craft protected by barrage balloons stretch across the water, heading toward the French coast. The massive Allied armada crosses the English Channel, carrying the invasion force to Normandy in June 1944. Hundreds of vessels make the crossing together in history's largest amphibious invasion. Smoke pours from the U.S. Coast Guard landing craft approaching the French shore after German machine gun fire triggers an explosion. The enemy bullets set off an American soldier's hand grenade, causing the blast and smoke on June 6, 1944. The damaged craft continues toward the beach despite taking fire. Canadian soldiers jump from their landing craft onto Courcelles Beach as Allied forces storm ashore on D-Day. The troops wade through the water under fire on June 6, 1944, during the invasion of Normandy. The Canadians push forward from the surf toward the German-defended coastline. Initial waves of assault troops take cover behind German beach obstacles and return fire toward enemy positions. Some soldiers shelter behind the defensive barriers, while others follow the first tanks rolling through the water toward shore on June 6, 1944. The troops fight their way off the beach under intense fire. U.S. reinforcements push through the surf as they land at Normandy in the days after the initial D-Day invasion. The soldiers wade through waist-deep water, carrying their equipment toward the French beach. More and more troops continue arriving to strengthen the beachhead. Members of an American landing party help survivors whose craft was sunk by enemy fire off the French coast. The rescued men made it to Omaha Beach on June 6, 1944, using a life raft after their landing craft went down. Their comrades pull them from the water onto the contested shore. Canadian soldiers from the 9th Brigade come ashore at Juno Beach, carrying their bicycles on D-Day. The troops land at Bernières-sur-Mer with their bikes during the Normandy invasion on June 6, 1944. The soldiers will use the bicycles for rapid movement once they get off the beach. American soldiers on Omaha Beach perform the grim task of recovering fallen comrades after the D-Day invasion. The troops collect the bodies of those killed during the fierce fighting on June 6, 1944. The beach that cost so many lives must be cleared as the invasion continues. 13 Liberty ships deliberately sunk in a line form an artificial breakwater protecting the Normandy beachhead. The scuttled vessels shield supply ships closer to shore from waves and weather. The prefabricated harbor was towed across the English Channel in 1944 to support the invasion. Allied troops worked to unload equipment and supplies onto Omaha Beach in early June 1944. Mountains of materiel come ashore to support the forces pushing inland from Normandy. The beach has transformed from a battlefield into a bustling supply depot. Two planes pull gliders through the sky above the fields of France during the Normandy invasion. The aircraft of the 9th Air Force circle above, while many gliders have already landed in the fields below. The airborne operation delivers troops and equipment behind enemy lines. Long lines of troops and supply trucks begin their march inland from the Normandy beaches on June 18, 1944. The reinforcements and supplies move forward to support the initial invasion forces. The buildup continues as more men and equipment arrive daily. American soldiers killed in action lie in a field a short distance from the Allied beachhead. The fallen troops rest where they died on June 20, 1944, during the push inland from the Normandy coast. The price of liberation is evident in the rows of bodies waiting for burial. American soldiers sprint across a dirt road under enemy fire near St. Lo in Normandy on July 25, 1944. Some troops crouch in ditches on both sides, waiting for their chance to dash across the dangerous open ground. The soldiers must cross quickly while German guns target the exposed road. 5 German soldiers, wounded and left without food or water for 3 days, hide in a Normandy farmhouse. The men finally surrendered to U.S. troops on June 14, 1944, after snipers tried to prevent their capture. The hungry and thirsty prisoners emerge from the barn after the snipers are dealt with. Hundreds of German helmets lie scattered across a field in Normandy, left behind by prisoners taken to camps. The captured soldiers were forced to discard their helmets before being marched away in 1944. The field of abandoned equipment shows the scale of German losses. American tow planes pulling gliders fly high above a traditional windmill in Valkenswaard near Eindhoven. The aircraft headed toward Holland on September 25, 1944, to support the airborne army. The modern military operation passes over the centuries-old landmark below. Parachutes blossom across the sky as waves of Allied paratroopers descend during Operation Market Garden. The massive airborne operation in September 1944 dropped thousands of soldiers into Holland. The white canopies fill the air during the largest airborne assault in history. An American paratrooper falls awkwardly during his landing in Holland, but has a haystack ready to cushion his impact. The soldier's parachute has already collapsed as he tumbles during operations on September 24, 1944. The nearby haystack will soften what could have been a rough landing. An American officer and a French resistance fighter take cover during a street battle with German occupation forces. The Allies fought together against the enemy during the liberation of a French city in August 1944. Urban warfare erupts through the streets as the Germans try to hold their positions. French civilians carefully make their way across a partially destroyed bridge in the port city of Cherbourg. The damaged structure still allows people to cross on foot on July 27, 1944, despite the battle damage. The bridge shows the destruction the city suffered during its liberation. 3 American soldiers sit among the ruins of La Haye du Puy, raising their glasses in a toast. Robert McCurdy, Sergeant Harold Smith, and Sergeant Richard Bennett create their own sidewalk cafe in the fallen French town on July 15, 1944. The GIs take a moment to relax amid the rubble. 2 French children sit on a hilltop overlooking the road into St. Lo, watching Allied convoys pass below. The young observers in the foreground look down at trucks and equipment moving through their destroyed city in July 1944. Their hometown lies in ruins as the war continues through it. Celebrating Parisians in the Place de la Concorde scatter for cover as a sniper opens fire from a building. The crowd had been celebrating the entry of Allied troops into Paris on August 26, 1944. Small bands of German snipers remain hidden in the city despite its surrender. Soldiers of Pennsylvania's 28th Infantry Division march down the Champs-Élysées with the Arc de Triomphe rising behind them. The triumphant parade on August 29, 1944, comes 4 days after Paris was liberated. The American troops march through the heart of the freed French capital. An SBD-3 dive bomber sits on the deck of USS Yorktown, showing battle damage on its tail section. The aircraft, flown by Ensign Goldsmith and A.R.M. 3C Patterson, struck the Japanese carrier Akagi on June 4, 1942. The damaged plane made it back to its carrier despite being hit during the Battle of Midway. The aircraft carrier USS Enterprise undergoes final preparations at Ford Island in Pearl Harbor. The ship was readied in late May 1942 for the crucial Battle of Midway ahead. Crews work to ensure the carrier is fully prepared for combat. TBD-1 torpedo bombers of Torpedo Squadron 6 unfold their wings on USS Enterprise's deck before attacking Japanese carriers. The squadron launched on June 4, 1942, against the enemy fleet during the Battle of Midway. 10 of the 14 aircraft would be lost during their brave but costly attack. The massive stern of the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise cut through Pacific waters in 1942. The view shows the carrier's enormous scale as it operates during wartime. The ship serves as the floating base for dozens of aircraft and thousands of crew. A Grumman F-4 Wildcat fighter roars off USS Yorktown's deck on combat air patrol the morning of June 4, 1942. This is aircraft number 13, flown by Squadron Executive Officer Lieutenant William Leonard during the Battle of Midway. Mattresses hang on the lifeline for splinter protection, while a machine gun points outward. The Japanese carrier Hiryu maneuvers sharply to avoid bombs falling from high-flying B-17 flying fortresses. The enemy warship turns hard, trying to dodge the American bombers' attack during the Battle of Midway on June 4, 1942. The carrier's wake shows its evasive movements through the water. Lieutenant Commander Maxwell Leslie ditches his bomber in the ocean next to the heavy cruiser Astoria after his successful attack on the Japanese carrier Soryu. Leslie and his wingmen ran out of fuel during the Battle of Midway on June 4, 1942, when their carrier was under attack. The cruiser's whaleboat will rescue Leslie, his wingmen, and their gunners from the water. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on anything.